Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Pretty Little Podcast. I'm Allie Violet Vixen Commissaro, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Jessie.
Hi, guys. Welcome back another week. I am so excited for this week's guest. So I'm just going to give it off to Allie for the intro so we can get ready.
Tonight, we're excited to have Kevin Miller and Aaron Scott from the iconic rock band Fuel. Kevin, the powerhouse drummer behind Fuel's biggest hits, and Aaron, the band's dynamic frontman, join us tonight to talk about their journey, their music, and what's next for the band. Let's dive in. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
How's everyone doing tonight?
It's good.
Really good. He just took me out to eat. I'm stuffed, feeling good.
Oh. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on tonight. I really appreciate it. So let's jump right in. So I wanted to start with Aaron. Tell us how it was for you to join the band.
It's surreal. Okay, so I grew up listening to Fuel, and I don't say that lightly. I know, I'm a little bit younger, but in high school, it was Hemorrhage, Shimmer, and then the newer catalog as I started getting into songs like Won't Back Down and Quarter and songs like that. That was on my playlist. You go back in the days to old CDs where you could burn your own CDs and have your little CD players that you put on your pack and the little headphones. I remember those days going to the gym, working out or something like that, have my little CD pack and burning my own CDs and Fuels. And I actually, when I got called to try out, to come out and do this, I actually went and found some of those old CDs and went back and saw, there I am listening to Fuel, loving Fuel for all these years. And now I'm getting a phone call from this guy to come out and try out. So it's one of those surreal moments where I can genuinely say I'm a fan that gets that one rare chance in a lifetime to be called up on stage and sing for a band that you absolutely love and just have that chance to be a fan on stage with fans, and just enjoy it with them.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's so surreal.
Mm-hmm.
So can we talk about the voice?
Yeah. Well, some things maybe not. Depends on what you ask.
Oh my God. I remember watching that and just being like, wow. I don't remember who you picked.
I picked Blake Shelton. I had him and John Legend turn, and I picked Blake.
Now, did you switch or did you stay with the same all the way through?
I stayed with the same, but I wasn't there very long because, and I was okay with that. I did The Voice in 2020 when COVID was at its height, and we weren't even sure if there was going to be a show. So at that point, it was about 2 months that I'd been on the show out in LA and getting COVID tests every 2 days and being away from my wife and kids for a couple months. I was like, I got voted out to go home, and I was okay with it. I was ready to go home, but the experience, I think getting there and I got the chance to sing Fuel Hemorrhage. And the amount of people that were on the show saying things like, we've been waiting for somebody to come on the show and sing this music because you don't hear it a lot. You get a lot of country, you get a lot of the classics, a lot of modern pop, but you don't get a lot of the rock. You don't get a lot of that 2000s grunge, post-grunge. So they were really happy to just have that represented and to get the chance to be that guy to do it. It's awesome.
Kevin, was everybody tagging Fuel with his videos from The Voice?
Well, I mean, I think at the time Carl had shared his version of doing it. And then when we were having some previous singer issues, it kind of looped back around. And my wife was the one, she brought me the video of him singing it. And she's like, is there some reason because I was looking for singers. And she's like, is there some reason you're not calling this guy? And I watched it again. I went, holy shit. I don't remember it being that good. I remember it was good. But when I relived it, and I was like, wow. So I immediately messaged him on Facebook. I'm like, my wife did all the research for me. She's like, this is where he is. And she's like, oh my God, he actually has a show tonight. He's opening for Scott Stapp in Wisconsin.
Yep.
And my front of house engineer for Fuel and tour manager is also the tour manager for Scott Stapp and Creed.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up calling him up. I was like, hey, Kyle, check this guy out tonight. Let me know how he does live. And, send me some video. And apparently I'll let you tell the rest of it. Because then my guy, Kyle, walked up to him and says,
okay, so this is 2 years and I'm sorry, we're getting into the stories, but it is a crazy story because I did the voice in 2020.
Oh, we're here for it.
And then I was, at the time, I'm a teacher and I work special ed in a middle school. And so I did that for 2 years. So it's 2022 at this point. And I'm doing local shows where I'm from in Wisconsin. And I call in a favor of a guy who owns a venue and says, hey, I see Scott Stapp's in town. I'd love to open for Scott Stapp of Creed. He's like one of those guys. I just,
An
it's
icon.
it's a dream come true to even just be on the same stage with that guy for me. And so I get there and they said, sure, they put me on the bill. I'm just opening for him. And this guy walks up to me and he's like, weren't you the guy on that sang Hemorrhage on The Voice? I'm like, yeah, he's still there. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he was like, I'm going to record you tonight. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I'm like, oh, okay. So anyway, he comes up to me after the show. He's like, okay, I'm going to need your phone number. I'm going to need your contact info. I got some people that might need your help, is what he said. I'm like, who do you know? Who do you work for? He's like, well, I'm front of house and tour manager for Fuel. And that's when I was like, okay. So I gave him my phone and my number. And the next day I got a phone call from this guy. And it was surreal because that was 2 years between The Voice and this. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just meant to be a teacher and just do my local thing. And that was my highlight moment.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, this opportunity opens up. And man, it was crazy.
and here we are.
That's right, buddy.
That's so beautiful because it's just like you never stopped pursuing music. Like it's always just been in you.
Yeah.
That's so impressive. And like I admire that so much.
Yeah. And it was what the coolest thing is I ended up calling my partner, Carl, and saying, hey, I've got this guy, Aaron. And, we sent Carl some videos and we did a little more research on Aaron. He's like, I'm really liking him. I said, listen, I'm going to fly him up and I'm going to vet him with the rest of the band. And Carl's like, Carl was a little sour at that point because we were having some singer issues and Fuel has kind of always been an uphill battle with some singers. It's just been weird for us.
Well, now.
Yeah. But so basically Aaron came in from Wisconsin. We rehearsed him in a few days and I was like, well, while you're here, we have some military shows that we want to go do. You feel like jumping in with us? He's like, let's go. Now we fly to the first Air Force base and Carl had never met Aaron ever. And we met at the airport at the Air Force base. And that's when everybody introduced and walked on stage. Carl walked on stage, never singing and, playing a note with this guy. And I remember we were walking up the steps to go on and the intros playing. Carl works and turns around and he says, this better work or we're going to look really stupid.
I mean, yeah.
And he killed it. Killed it.
The first time I played with Fuel, the full band was on stage.
Wow.
So
no practice. Just
that's
get
it. It's a trial by fire, as they say.
Yeah.
And if you know Carl Bell, he's the writer. He's the guy. Like he wrote Hemorrhage, he penned it. He was Shimmer. He's the guy. And I'll never forget seeing him go down the escalator at the airport. The first time I ever see the guy, we're on our way to a show, and I'm seeing it's like this moment as he's going down the escalator. I'm like, there he is. Like, oh boy, don't mess it up now. Like,
Did you have anxiety performing for the first time with them, or because you've been performing for so long prior, you've done The Voice, you've done these things? Do you still have anxiety, or no? Or do
Great question. It's a great question, and I still do, and I think a certain degree of me always will because that's the fan in me. It's even that for me, it's like this catalog, this music, there's a sound and there's a quality to it. There's a passion and a powerfulness to the song and to the music that I'll always put the pressure on myself to go out every day, whether it's a live show, whether it's in studio, whether it's an interview, to have any opportunity to represent or be any kind of face or any kind of voice for this group. I take that as a big responsibility, big shoes to fill. And so every time you know, I talk about since I've started with the band, I've dropped 25 pounds, and like I got to be in my very best shape. I got to be at my very top of my game, always. And I got to keep up with this guy who's he just looks at a dumbbell and he gets a bicep vein. But it's like it's that pressure to say this deserves my very best, and so
he gives it all the time.
Well, it's what it deserves. So it's easy to do.
It's amazing.
You guys seem like you have so much fun, like working together, like you said, going out to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does it say? Like it's hard. This is hard to do this. You know, you put a lot of work.
Yeah.
If you got to enjoy the people you do it with, because if that's not happening, then it's just, we talk about this a lot as a group. It's some of the dynamics that people don't know behind making this work. It's all about the relationships and the people. And
yeah. I mean, Aaron's actually up here. We flew him in from Wisconsin because he's doing some voice things with some coaching here, and we're also getting ready to go into the recording studio. So the timing, Ali, was perfect, because it would have just been me, or possibly, you know, we could have Skyped him in from Wisconsin. But the fact that he was here, and, you know, Tom hit me up and said, "Hey man, can you make this happen?" So that's, I guess it was meant to happen.
Yeah.
And I apologize for dusting you before, because when we were getting ready to do this, I ended up getting on the road and getting.
You ended up going on tour right after I wrote you.
Really
Like,
great.
it was bad timing on my part.
Right.
But hey, we got you now.
Yeah.
Perfect timing for all things.
That's it.
So I'm so curious, Aaron, what was the first song that you sang when you got up there?
well,
Shimmer.
yeah. So we are literally, okay, you guys don't know the timing of all this. This was October 9th of 2022. And it was, I don't know when the date is, but this is all airing, but we were literally just sitting down at dinner tonight saying, this
Oh
is
my
the
God. He
2-year
was here,
anniversary.
2 years ago at this time.
At this very place that we're at right now, out at his garage setup where he's got all of his awesome music gear set up. I show up and they're like, they tell me, what do you want to do? And I'm like, let's do Shimmer. So we just pulled out Shimmer and played Shimmer. And I'll never forget, we just talked about this today, actually. I looked over my left shoulder, and our bass player, Tommy, who's from New Jersey, so he's got the New Jersey accent. He's just nodding at me. He says, "Yeah, you're good. You're good. So it's just a surreal moment, you know."
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Tommy.
So
You're
can
good.
you tell us anything about what's to come as far as music? And
Absolutely.
what
We
fans
are
can
one of the things we're doing while he's here this week is we're going to be I'll be heading into the recording studio hopefully by the end of this week and start tracking some drums for the new album. We're going to do a whole new album with Aaron. Originally, we were just going to do a few singles, and our management team, who Shelter Group, amazing team behind the band, and we're really glad that they jumped on with us, and they have some big things in store for us, and wanted us now to do a full length record instead of just a couple. You know, so yeah, so now we're in these. Carl and Aaron have been writing like crazy, and of course they're killing me because they're coming up with all these like do this and do this and do that and all this crazy double bass stuff and you know, just
killing it, by the way.
They're making me work my butt off, but you know, I'm like, I'm getting older. I wanted to be slowing down, not speeding up.
Sounds like you guys are cooking with gas.
It's clicking really good. Yeah, we got so much. I know every band says this because you have to be, you know, optimistic and all that and forward thinking, but the songs that Aaron and Carl are now writing are just so good. I'm very excited to get this record, and it's a way heavier Fuel than has ever been. It's really heavy.
Oh, that's great
Not
to
like
hear.
death metal heavy, but for
No.
Fuel, it's heavy.
I can't do much for the screamo, although you can. But yeah,
Whoa, that's good.
he's practicing. He's
Fry screaming, man.
the dude can do it all.
Oh, wow.
But it's heavy. I think what we talk about is we listen to what music is now, especially in the rock genre, and we really are inspired by what we're hearing by a lot of our we love what like, you know, we played with Scott Stapp, and he had a new album this last year, and that's a heavier side than
our friend Mark Tremonti also from
Tremonti.
Creed, because we're
Yeah.
you know, buddies with all those guys, and
yeah.
you know, Mark's new album is Mark always wrote heavy, but it just remember when we did the Creed cruise with those guys, and I was talking to Mark, just hanging out, and he was asking us if we're going to be doing a new album with Aaron. I was like, absolutely. And he said, well, make sure it's heavy, man. It's got, you know, or like, because that's all the stuff that's gravitating right now is just heavy, heavy, heavy. So,
but that's what we naturally love to do. I mean, when we show up, I think a lot of people show up to a Fuel show and they're like, well, we remember Shimmer.
Yeah, they remember Shimmer and Bad Day and all the fluffy stuff, which has helped pave the way. Yeah. But, you know, we have so much, there's a heavier side to Fuel. Yeah. And the thing that's cool is Aaron's actually bringing, he had said to Carl, when I write now, I always think to myself, what would Fuel sound like in 2025? You know, it can't sound like what we did 25 years ago, you know, the decades ahead, and try to, and, you know, and it's weird for a band of our age. And I hate to say it this way, but it's so factual in my own, I got to even, you know, check my own head and be like, how do we become relevant? You know, and instead of being just a heritage band and being what was, how does Fuel now become another staple again? You know,
I think that's like an amazing perspective. I get where you're saying like more relevant. I think you guys would always be relevant. It's a lot of these amazing legacy bands, when they change members and stuff like that, they almost feel like a cover band of themselves, because they try to fit themselves into a mold without changing anything. You guys are pushing the limits of what you guys have done before and growing as a band. You guys were trying to be a cover band of your old work, because that's your old work and you love it. We respect it. It's the roots, but you guys are aiming to evolve. And I love that you guys are surrounded by other bands doing the same thing, because it's like, that's how you push the genre of rock or metal or pop or anything, is that you're with people trying to push the genre forward. And I think that's all amazing. I think what you guys are doing is sick.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You guys have had so many various phases to Fuel. Kevin, especially with you, do you feel that added pressure now?
It's weird because I was actually the longest member out of the band. You know, I left for a long time. And when Carl, at one point, because Carl owns the name, he owns the band, has always had it. And, you know, at one time, Carl was out of his own band. He just licensed the name to Brett, and Brett had the band for 10 years. And, you know, and Carl wasn't even in his own band. And subsequently, what had happened was the brand was getting so watered down that it was killing Carl. And he's like, you know, I got this legacy of music and it's very personal. He wrote the stuff, you know, and then someone else is out there performing it. And if they're not really putting their heart into it like we do, when he gave me the phone call and said, I'm taking the band back, do we want to do something with this? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. Like, I've been out of that seat for a long time, and that's my seat. I want it back. And so it's nice having Aaron and Tommy Nat and Mark Klotz, because all these guys, the most earnest way to say this is they all really give a shit. They care. And they don't just care about individual, they care about the unit, the band, the songs. You know, like when these guys get on stage, even though they weren't part of any of what most of the stuff we're playing, they play it like they wrote it or that they recorded it. And that's, for me, being a legacy member and an OG, looking around the stage and watching Aaron just bringing it every night, and Mark killing it on guitar, and Tommy just laying that bass down, looking at me going like, yeah, dude, let's get it. That just makes me feel good. I'm like, it's just great. It's been really good. You know, bands are tough, so we're going to pray for the best and hope that nobody implodes and everybody stays cool, and we just forward.
Now, are there any new elements or instruments that you guys are like
Incorporating.
or explore, like even exploring
Yeah,
like
we're
new?
I guess more of loops are
There-
coming in. Like
Yeah.
and loops have been a thing in songs forever now, but
Yeah.
you know, it's not necessarily a lot of the Fuel stuff. So
Yeah, and there's the synth sound to complement what we have with. I mean, we got a drummer that can do whatever he wants. We got 2 guitar players now, Carl Bell, obviously, who's Carl Bell, and then Mark Klotz, who just shows up and just pulls something out. You want to be able to have both of them have their space, but the sound that, you know, there's a lot of great bands that are utilizing great sound. Like we talk a lot about Bad Omens and Sleep Theory. We're looking at these bands that are doing great production work, and it's all about the experience. You know, when you talk about what we do now, we're always asking the question of how would this be live? If we're live in front of an audience, what kind of experience would they be getting? So we look for ways to accentuate the mood and the emotion behind it, and we found that adding the synth, the string, the even piano at here and there, and having those you know, loops kind of going in the background. But we don't want to get heavy on the loops because we've got the talented artists that can do everything. So, but to complement that mood, we've noticed in our new stuff, it's a really nice balance.
yeah,
we've got
and
going.
of course, with the music today being a little darker,
Yeah.
all the synthy stuff with all that detuned, weird, ominous stuff going on in the background of our stuff, that the new stuff we're writing is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a mood. You show up, you're going to get a mood, a cool vibe that you're going to be like, okay, that was an experience, not just a show. So that's what we're going for.
I love that. And that's amazing. It gives me something to look forward to. I know you mentioned Bad Omens. I've like everybody I have ever heard seen them has said exactly what you said, that they're like great to see. They have very atmospheric.
well, you know, here we are, we're a much older band than those guys, and then you turn around and see how relevant they are and how they're just kicking ass. And you got to ask yourself, okay, what are they doing that is, you know, people are gravitating, and so to pay homage to them, you know, we listen to a lot of their stuff going, that's a really cool thing, and that's really cool. Take some of that idea and you know,
Elevate
and
it
for us. Yeah, and so for us, we're kind of reinventing ourselves in a cool way, but watching these younger bands that have just skyrocketed to great stardom, and we're, you know, it's so nice to see, because everybody was so scared years ago of rock is dead, but it's kind of now like bullshit. It's coming back, and it's coming back.
You can kill rock. I know people kept saying that, but I just don't. I think it lives, and sometimes it crawls out into the underground.
Yeah,
There's been plenty of basement shows. You can't kill rock. It doesn't go out. No, it's feeling. You know, and that's what your music does. Is like it gives you like feelings, and it's sick. I love that.
So I'm so curious, Kevin, who were some of your musical influences growing up?
wow. Well, one of my biggest was God rest his soul, Alan White from the band Yes. You know, drummers prior to him were great. Yes was always fantastic, great musical band, but Alan, for me, just what I call it, the simple complexity of his drumming, where he would play something, and as a drummer, I'd be playing along, and I'd have to stop, and back then it was either move the needle back or try to rewind, you know, on a cassette tape, you know, and play it back over and over and go, what did he just do? Because he had this magical beauty of taking the most simple things and just turning it around and coming right back. And as a drummer, you're like, okay, did he just put a bar of like 3/4, and what just happened? And you know, you're sitting there counting it. You're like 1 and 2 and 3. No, wait, nope, that's 1 and what are you doing? And I'd have to call up some of my drummer friends going, dude, what is he doing in that time signature? Like, oh, he's doing this, that, a 6/8 and a 3/4, and a, you know, and I don't read. So everything that I've learned was from listening and just mimicking, you know, what they did. And of course, Stuart Copeland from Yes, who is just an animal drummer. Then there's always the great John Bonham and Neil Peart, and just so many. I could go on for days about drummers, and there's even some some local drummers in the area that are so unrecognized. Like a friend of mine, Anthony Baker, he plays for a band called
Shout out
Goodman.
to Anthony.
Okay, so you know, and is a phenomenal drummer, phenomenal, like one of the best area drummers. And then there's my friend Kevin Safaro, the incredible studio cat and live drummer from the area. And these guys are always, for me, so inspirational because they'll put up videos and I'm just like, man. And you know, I've always got 80 things going on between wives, kids, houses, several other businesses and all that. So I'm trying to make more time to become a better drummer, even as I'm getting older, going more time in the studio, more of this, more of that, and, you know, spend more time into my craft. But again, so there's so many amazing drummers. Now, if you pull up YouTube and just watch some of these cats, the stuff they're playing, it just blows your mind. And it's, I talk to these guys about it too. And they're like, oh dude, it's the same thing in Guitar Land. Like you'll go on YouTube and pull up this kid that's 17 years old. He's like, doing all this stuff that they're like, how do you do that? You
sounds a little better than that.
Yeah, it sounds a little better than that. Anyway, yeah.
So were there any songs throughout time that you think didn't get the recognition that they should have got?
Okay. So this,
good questions.
Yeah, I'm trying to ask you questions and not everybody like grills.
Yeah.
you.
That's really cool. So let's go to 9/11. We were hitting double platinum on our album at the time. Hemorrhage was wrecking, and we were getting all ready to release the next the song called Bad Day, and it's a ballad. And we shot the video for it, and we just started releasing it, and it was just ripping. It started ripping up the charts. 9/11 hit, and they pulled the song off of radio because of the title of the called Bad Day. So any song like Drowning Pool, like Bodies, and all, like so many songs got yanked off the playlist.
No Ryan on here. We've had him on twice.
Well, it literally wrecked us because like where we peaked out at like 2 million albums, our record label was, they were confident that that song was going to be so big for us that it would have, you know, it would have been that top 40 crossover and probably propelled us to 6 million albums. And so thank you 9/11 for wrecking my life at that point. But the true story, and we're not the only one. There's so many artists got wrecked by that. So that was a great question because a lot of people don't understand how world events actually affect artists, you know, and COVID, no one could tour, no one could work. There's so many of my friends, like I have so many people in the industry that were either sound engineers, tour managers. None of them are doing it anymore because they ended up getting another life. And they're like, well, I'm doing this now. I'm not going to go back to the touring thing. And then, you know, so the whole touring market got saturated with a bunch of
strongest survived.
Yeah. And you know,
it was interesting. Like it made or broke a lot of bands. A lot of really good albums came out during quarantine because people couldn't do anything besides make music. And then it also destroyed a lot of bands too because practice, couldn't get together, couldn't write. So it was like you I either saw a bunch of music come out of it or it destroyed
sparked or.
But no, Ali, that was a great question because a lot of people don't put those Tetris pieces together thinking like how a life event just can wreck it wrecked a lot of industries, but musicians definitely got affected by the thousands just for song titles.
Oh, definitely. I know even when they pulled like songs off of TikTok and stuff like that, like they did that sweep and they like pulled tons of music off of there. I know that a lot of bands were having problems with that.
Yeah.
Because they had hit so quickly on there and then to have all the music taken off.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Life hits you.
You can't predict tomorrow.
Right?
That's the truth.
That's it.
So, what are some of your favorite moments from touring with Fuel?
HFS Festival back in, I guess that was 2000. Is 60 some thousand people.
He shows me pictures. It looks insane.
Like a scrapbooking.
Yeah, like well, it just came across. We were on my phone looking at photos or something, and then he's like, "Holy cow, what is that?" I'm like, "Oh, that was Jason." And like, there's my little drum set, and all you see is this sea of people as far as you can see, and
Wow.
it's like moments like that. He's like, "That had to be surreal," and I'm like, "That was awesome." I remember the first time, going over to Australia and being greeted over there like we were the Beatles, like literally girls running after the car, trying to, like we got into the limo out of the airport and we went and did a TV show. And when we left the TV station, there were all these people outside, like hundreds of people, and the girls were like screaming and running after us. And I remember one of them grabbed some of Brett's hair and pulled his hair out and like ripped his earring out of his ear. And it's just like, and we're trying to push in the car. Yep. And then locally, once Brett and I went shopping at the Lehigh Valley Mall. It's a local big mall for us. And I had to literally grab Brett and like throw him over my shoulder and go running out the door because all these people were chasing out, screaming his name. And so there's, and then, getting to see the planet of places that I would never have gone, all through Europe and, Germany, staying at the Champs-Élysées.
What's your favorite city or venue?
Yeah. And
oh, did you hear the question?
What's that?
What was your question, Alex? Sorry.
What was your favorite city or venue to play at?
Oh man. Without trying to sound like a cliche, or any venue that I showed up at that has our fans singing all of our songs, which is a nightly thing, that's my favorite venue. Because it seriously, like every night is like a new experience. I know everybody's like, wow, you play the same 18 songs every night. Like, yeah, but there's 3,000 new people out there that weren't there last night and the night before that. So the whole energy changes every night in a different way. And it's just the whole experience. And, I'll drag Aaron to this. So don't you feel that even though, like when you now came into this end of it, every show is different, right? No matter, even though it's the same songs.
We'll just take you to our most recent show. I think we had in Southern Illinois, right around the time that the hurricane's coming through it, and there's raining, nasty weather. And we show up to this venue, not even sure if we're going to be able to do the show with the weather coming in.
Yep.
And it's this little town in Southern Illinois that I'd never heard of. We never heard of. And we have no idea what we're walking into. There could be 100 people there for all we know, especially with the weather and the way it is. But we showed up they said, let's just try, see what happens. And we walked out on stage. The clouds parted. It stopped raining. And this place is packed. And
I feel like those fans would have shown up no matter what.
They were there.
Exactly.
And it was like, I didn't expect any of that. You know what I mean? I'm like, because I remember our tour manager walking in the room. And he's like, all right, you guys ready? The promoter, they want us to give it a shot. We don't know if the rain's going to hold out or not, but if you can get up, at least do a couple songs and the people that are there. But by the time we got out there, Aaron must have talked to the man up top because they got a good connection, not me so much, but the Jesus who loves him.
I say my prayers.
And it was so weird because right when they said that, I was walking to the stage, the rain just stopped.
It's crazy.
And what the coolest part of the night was, it didn't start again until we started Bad Day. And the video, though, was so surreal because when we were filming it, the way the rain was coming down on him when he was singing, it was like the coolest thing ever. And some of the video now is remarkable. People are just sharing it all over. Like, look at this. But then it stopped again.
Yeah.
Like, it was so cool.
That's the thing. I would say, like, if I can speak to
Yeah.
your favorite venue is the ones where for me personally, it's where you really feel like you connect with people. And that dynamic it's just so prevalent. Like, it's such a strong feeling and intense connection when you can look out, and that, for me as a fan now, this looking out there, seeing people screaming every word with me, how it is hard to say there's one place, there's one key venue, one key experience that really stands out amongst them. It's those where you don't really know what you're going to get. You're coming to a small town that they're telling you things like, we don't often get a band like Fuel to come through here. So we'll see what happens. And
then it turns out to be like one of the coolest nights, you know,
and they have the time of their lives, and you can feel that from them. And that's when you're like, this is a beautiful night. Like, you wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, Madison Square Garden.
Starting as a fan, the fans love you. So have you had any really cool, impactful fan reactions or encounters?
Me personally?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get a lot of, and I'm a general skeptic of whenever a band just me personally, if a band replaces the lead singer, you know, or if it's a different person, I'm going to be skeptical of that because it's change, and people don't like change. I'm the same way. I have a certain sound that I've come to expect from a certain band and a certain thing that I got from that. And to have somebody else step in and take that, you're going to be, I'm a skeptic to say it's just not going to be the same. I think some of the best stuff I've heard from people is just like, they say, hey, I showed up and I was like, this is a different guy. I don't know. But by the end of the show, they were like, dude, you dominated. You did. We could tell you love this music. We can tell that you're giving it everything you got.
Aaron always wins them over. Like when we did the Creed cruise, we didn't know what to expect on that. We did 2 back-to-back boat cruises, 2 weeks in a row.
Are they just wild? I imagine like the boat cruises are just like,
they have to be.
But we literally, there's only 1,100 people on a boat, besides 1,100 crew members operating the boat. Mm-hmm. But we had gained, and those 2 weeks, like thousands of fans came onto our Facebook page and just flooded us and just, like Aaron was awesome. Aaron was awesome. Aaron was awesome. I didn't know what to expect. I was always a Fuel fan and I wasn't really excited. I was on the boat really to see Creed, but then I went to the Fuel show and came out being a fan because Aaron was so great, and the band was so good. So it just, again, it doesn't really matter like the size of the venue or if there's 10,000 people or 500 people, like we play them all. And it's just really the energy of the crowd. I just recently, we were in Texas and there's a little blip of me coming out and talking to the audience and just saying, 20 some years later, and we're here, and it wasn't because of us, because of them. And there was a sea of heads. Like they said the turnout was one of the best turnouts they had. What part of that was in?
Was it El Paso?
El Paso, Texas. And it was one of the best shows we had this summer. It was just incredible. Like the amount of people that came out to see the band, and we were the headline band. So obviously they were there for us, and it was great. But just to be able to say that to them of like a thank you of, I'm able to do this because you guys are still here, and they were there like thousands of them.
Can we highlight that El Paso, if you don't mind? We're talking a lot. Are we okay?
No, you're
You guys are on here to talk. We want to hear what you have to say.
When you get us going, because this is just beautiful, like what we get to do. Because in El Paso, we specifically got to meet a family of a young man who was dealing with cancer, and he wanted to make it to the show but couldn't, and so because of his treatment. So we actually, this is where me as a lifetime fan of Fuel, like gained another level of just love for these guys, because once this team found out about this young man, that he couldn't make it to the show because of his treatments and he had to stay home, they made time to get out and visit him. And we had a chance, and it's on our Facebook. We took video, and the reason we took video was just because we wanted to show people this family. It was one of those, like, we could take video to show everybody what we're trying to do, but actually it was completely flipped. This family reached out to us just hoping that we would write a note or say hello.
Yeah, they just wanted us, like, can you guys just send them a little video just saying hi and sorry you couldn't make the show.
And Kevin Miller and Carl Bell look at each other like, no, we got to go see him.
Yeah, so we're like, get us a bus, get our limo bus over here, and take us to that person's house, let them know we're coming.
And I'm just as a guy who hopes that these guys are as cool off stage as they are on stage, to see that happen and to see what that did for that family and what that family and that young man did for us, because that was also the night we got to go out there and play for everybody. And we dedicated a song to him. And that, I'd say that's a top 3 moment for me in Fuel in terms of fan interaction, what this means to other people and what it means to us. And me personally, it was just that stuff you never forget.
Yeah, and he subsequently passed just a few days after that, which was heartbreaking. Like, I remember getting the phone call that he had passed, and not even just meeting him and knowing he was such a fan of the band. Like, I'm in my driveway weeping, going, "Wow, this is so heavy on me." And Carl called me literally after I got the call, and Carl was crying, and it's what he said, "Did you hear that poor kid passed?" And I said, "I did." And it wrecked us, because it just, you know, you get attached to people as well. Like a fan may get attached to a band, but you know, when you have that passion for us as well, we appreciate that, because we can't do that without any of you guys, you know. And it's just, it's weird sometimes, the personal connection that you don't expect to happen. And then it kind of takes you by surprise and just kind of wrecks you. Just
that kind of leads me to my next question. What's the most unexpected thing that you've learned from your fans throughout the years?
I will say that Fuel fans are tough. And I mean, they're tough, like they're either tough with us or they're tough on us. And I have personally learned as an artist, musician, person, to gain some thick skin. And, you know, because there's some, you know, really heavy keyboard warriors out there that write some really shitty things about people in bands. And, you know, bands are tough. It's, you got either 4 people, 3 people, 5 people, 7 people in a band. That's all those different personalities you have to make mesh in the same cattle chute all the time. It can't be part-time. It's got to be, everyone's got to be on the same wavelength constantly. And it's been a lot easier in this incarnation of Fuel, but that question is so hard to answer. Help me.
What can I say? As the new guy, I would say, I appreciate the fans, because there's the fans of Fuel, the Fuel that I know, love, grew up. And what I will say to echo that is I appreciate that that part is skeptical and they're critical, because that's exactly what I am. That's what I would be. And I love that they'll tell you, if it sounds good, you'll know that they mean it. If it doesn't sound good, you'll know that they mean it. And I love that. But I would also say it's been really cool to see there's a lot of Fuel fans that have been extremely supportive of every incarnation of what Fuel's been through the years. And to see that they appreciate each part of that. Okay, that was that phase, that was from that album, that song. And to see that the discography, the I guess you could say evolution of this band to where we are now, and to see that they've supported that, not just a little bit either, like willing to support it for years, driving hours and hours to go to a Fuel show, you know, and they'll tell us at the show, I was at your show 10 years ago. I was at a Fuel show 12 years ago. I was at a show 20 years ago, and they've been there and they have stuck around. And a lot of people would look at the changes in the dynamics of a band and say, oh, it's just, they can make an assumption. They can make their own decision to say, it's just, no, I can't support that anymore because of this or that. But to see so many people that are still so connected to the music and what this band has meant to them and what it's meant to the genre, be there and then be willing to come see me, this new guy, try this now and be so supportive and willing to let me into the Fuel family and my wife and kids and all of us into the Fuel family, and then literally supporting us, sending us encouraging messages and getting to know us. You talk about the Creed cruise,
right?
Talking to us and just the relationships that have built. It's you understand the skepticism, but you also appreciate.
Yeah. And I think that the toughest thing for me that really, I guess, kind of pisses me off is whether you're a fan or not a fan, or just you liked a couple songs from the band, and then you'll write, well, you should just change the name and start over again. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm in my 60s. Seriously, I mean, if I was to start a brand new band and just say I had the bass player from Three Doors Down, the guitarist from Seven Dust, like just
even with Linkin Park, even going under and like
I wasn't gonna go there, but I'm just saying they're beating the shit out of them so bad. And I'm like, okay, where I'm going with this, people, if you're a fan of the band or the musicians that were in the band, if you want me to start over again, I'm going to go out there and make $500 a show for the whole band. You know what I mean? Because even if I have a hit song today, that's not going to translate to promoter money for me for a year from now. So you want me to go out there? I have a family, man. This is my job. I earned the right to earn this money. And it's not on the level everyone thinks it is. I mean, a bus, we just got offered a possible run here in January. And just so everyone understands this, it's 3.5 weeks. Well, we get the quote back for a tour bus. It's $54,000. Okay, who's paying for that? If I'm a new upcoming band, what does that leave for me or any of the other guys in the band? So we're going to pay for a bus and probably have to get help paying for the bus if you're on a label, and all the label deals are 50-50 these days. So all your money, they're taking everything. Yeah. So don't tell a band like Linkin Park or Fuel or anybody that's changed a singer or a guitar player to go change your name and start over.
I think
so happy you said that.
Yeah, I think if you change your name too, it like it's bearing a lot of like the legacy of the things you built. Like you built this. This is something that was made by a lot of people, and to just like drop it like that is.
Thank you. Yeah, and Carl and I have a right to play those songs.
I love that you just got hyped. Like, I'm not even a musician, and I was getting hyped reading the comments under Linkin Park. Like, yeah, I hear the song. Like, I think I love it. Like, I'll say it.
She's feeling it.
Yep.
She's let her be.
Yeah,
she has. This is an opportunity because I played with her in her other band. We did shows, and you know, for her to get that opportunity to go do that versus starving and trying to claw her way up. Yep. Good for you. That's right. Go get it, lady. Right. Go kill it.
Yeah. So happy you just said that.
Yeah. There's power in the name. Yeah.
I do have to ask Aaron though, with being a fan, have any of the songs taken new meaning since you started singing them?
Oh, great. You are.
She's good.
A+. I gotta say, wow.
I told Tom I do him proud tonight.
That's a good question. Yes, that the very much big answer to that is yes. One song that we added into the set list once I started up was "Innocent." And I don't know how much you know that song, but the dynamic and depth to the lyrics of that song, like "Satan, you know where I lie," you know, and just the meaning of the dynamic of loss of innocence, keeping your innocence with the inner demons and the outer demons. You know, I have my own history to that. You know, 2014, I wasn't a singer in a band. You know, I was a guy that was battling depression and anxiety, and it had consumed me to the point where I considered not even having my life anymore, and actually in a few occasions thought about taking it. So that came from a very deep, real place for me personally. And so literally was February of 2024 this year where we had a show on the anniversary date of a day that I decided not to end my life and instead commit to growing, learning, and getting out of where I was. And so to have a surreal opportunity to now 10 years later look at where life has taken me compared to where that was, going through all the battles, going through all the bumpy roads to get to a place of being healthy, and to now be healthy enough and have the opportunity to do this and then get up there to sing a song like "Innocent." It's like, how do you not feel that the emotion of the lyrics whenever you sing it? And "Bad Day," you know, I like "Bad Day." It's comes from a real place. And I told the guys in that February show, I'm like, guys, you're probably going to see me be a little bit more emotional when it comes to this show, because this is one of those full circle moments that I never thought would happen. But to see where it's all come to where it is now, it just gives you that purpose of you talk to, now we can talk to fans and they tell us quite frequently, you know, your music's helped me through a lot of hard times.
Yeah.
And
you hear some pretty
yeah,
pretty bad horror stories from some of the fans on, you know, just life events that our music has helped them through, and it's a pretty cool feeling.
And I think people need to know that, because Carl's not here with us, but when Carl Bell, who wrote these songs, hears people say that, you could see in his eyes and you could feel what that means to him, because you know that all these things that we're all human beings. We all experience these highs and lows, and a lot of lows, and some of those lows really, really, really suck, and it's really hard to get out of them. So to hear that, and then again, I'm kind of going on about it, but to be up there singing a song like Bad Day, Innocent, I can be the guy now on stage singing it and know exactly what it feels like to have that exact feeling of dread, fear, pain, but also have the opportunity to be that guy that says, well, look at what good can come out of stuff like this, music like this, and how it can inspire you or anybody out there to be the next who knows what singer for who knows what band, and just keep going. Yeah.
That's like you can make a fucking movie out of
that.
I know. It feels like it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you really could. That's crazy. Somebody sign off on that now, the Fuel story.
Oh,
That was pretty. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Good question, Allie. Thank you.
So, can you tell us anything else about the new music, or about any shows that you have coming up? Like when you'll be in Philly?
There's not a lot.
We did just announce we're going to be on the Creed cruise again this next year. So Creed's returning, obviously, but we're the only other band returning from last year. So when we got that news and when we got that all lined up, we were stoked, because that is a unique experience to get to not just perform for people, but actually get to know them off stage and then come back and so that's one we're really excited about. But we're seeing a lot of offers come in. People are excited. I think it's what we're really encouraged is that we will show up and they won't know really what they're going to get, because they maybe not have heard me, and I'm not officially on an album that we've released yet. So for them to have a taste of what we are. But when we show up, we do a show, we hear people say, we want you back. We want you back. And now we're starting to see a lot of that feedback come to our management. And now the album, we got a lot of the songs written, a lot of the demos are already done. And we're just going to get to the studio to get it all polished up now. So a lot of the people in the circle know what we are, where we're going, and they're pushing us to get out there and to be out there with a lot of these great bands, both in legacy and current and modern, and both a great mix. So it's going to be cool to see what we got.
Yeah, we only have a few shows left this year because we're gearing up for full studio time to get this record done by the end of the year. So we'll be in Lakeland, California with Tesla on Saturday, November 9th. And then we're going to be Saturday, December 21st, Mount Pleasant, Michigan.
Michigan. We've been in Michigan a lot this year. But we'll keep
Michigan.
And then Saturday,
with the heavier stuff, that you guys will start like Michigan Metal Fest and stuff like that.
Possibly. I mean, you know, the band would definitely be more conducive to some of the heavier shows now with the new album, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
What is that?
Choctaw, Mississippi.
Yeah. So that's on December 28th. And then the beginning of next year, we just started, the shows will be announced soon. It's, we're doing a bunch of packages with us in the band Lit.
Oh, nice.
So we'll be out doing quite a few shows with Lit next year. Those shows will be going up for sale shortly. And then there's talk of us and the boys from Hinder going out and doing a couple runs together. So
Lips of an Angel is one of my karaoke songs.
Yeah.
I get up and do it in
So
front of the crowd.
Again, it's exciting for us, and then to be reunited with a lot of the bands that we've toured with in the past, when Carl and I were just, you know, cutting teeth, as they say, and making it, you know, forging our way forward. So again, it was nice to be offered to back on the Creed cruise, and our buddies Seven Dust and Hinder and Lit and Alien Ant Farm and so many bands on that one. Be really cool.
Exciting.
Oh, I'm so excited to see just where everything goes for you guys, and hear the new music. Now, did you say that, like you said, end of the year? Do you know
The time
roughly?
frame, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that our first single will be
Feel
hitting
well.
the first quarter of next year.
Yeah.
We'll be releasing the first single will be definitely coming out first quarter next year.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
so exciting.
we're in a cool predicament because we have one song already recorded, which came out pretty fantastic. And now Aaron and Carl have been writing so much, it's almost going to be the song that we thought might be the first single. Who knows? Because now some of the other stuff is so strong that, you know, and I don't know Aaron as well as I know Carl, obviously, because Carl and I have a lot of history together. But Carl, for some reason, is that guy that goes like this and the rabbit comes out like right before when you don't expect it. And all, you know, because that's what happened when we released Hemorrhage. Like that song was the last thing that he brought to the table, you know, as we're writing the record. And then he's like, well, I just wrote this. And I remember playing through it the first time. And I looked up and I said, it's a new car, because I was like, I already knew that. I was like, this is going to be a hit, you know, and our management team was there. And I remember them looking at each other going, holy shit. You know, it was just that moment where you know, and then doing it so long now, you kind of get that barometer in your head of this song's going to probably gravitate. Although the music business has changed so much from what I thought I knew.
I'm anxious for the new music. With you being this excited, like I'm anxious for it.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And it's exciting for me because these guys are pushing me to a limit that I kind of don't like.
We love it
because I have my comfort zone as a drummer, and I know, you know what I mean? Like I have all my little hot tricks and all the stuff that I do. And these guys are bringing on all this like crazy stuff for me. That's very left of what I play and different. So I'm actually in there practicing for the first time. Like, holy crap, I got to do this with my feet and this part. And
he's killing it, by the way.
I believe it. I know he is.
I know. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
I would say this, like one thing the way I put it up to myself, I'm like, right now we got a motivated, hungry, and energized Carl Bell. And when you got a motivated, energized, hungry Carl Bell, good things happen. So we've got a lot of good stuff in the works.
Yeah.
And as a Fuel fan, got to be honest, I love that I can kind of take my hat off sometimes as the singer and just be a Fuel fan and just look at it from that lens. Just to that side alone, I'm very excited for what we got coming.
Oh yeah, me
That's
too.
great.
You got us all excited up in here.
Yeah.
I know. We're gonna have to wait till next year.
I know. Eager,
but hopefully you'll drop a couple teasers here and there.
Oh yeah, there's actually one of the songs. If you go, it's called "Want It," and we did now incorporate it into our live show, and it's a little taste of the heavier side. It's not crazy. There's other stuff that's coming out way heavier than that one, but that is a heavier side of Fuel, you know?
Yep.
But we play that live now and it's going over like great.
Oh, that's that's awesome. And I'm going to look that up as soon as we get off. Thank you so much for taking the time. I think I said 45 minutes and we've definitely gone over that. So
that's okay.
We chat a lot. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, we love it. Thank you so much. And we'll have to have you back on after the music comes out to hear all about it and hear how the fans took to it and everything else.
Well, maybe we could do something pretty cool. Like when we're all up in the studio in November, maybe we could do a little snippet from in the studio or something, just like a little pretty little podcast check-in on Fuel.
Oh, I love that. Please.
You know?
That'll be so exciting.
Yeah, definitely keep in touch with us.
Right on.
Sounds good.
Thanks for your time.
Wait, and when is the next time that you're playing with the Classic Kings? Well, like when can?
He's going to his calendar.
That's a good question. I think.
Sorry, I'm trying to get up there to catch a show. So.
Which those guys are killer, by the way. You get a chance to see our guitarist in Fuel, Mark Klotz, shine in his own right with his singing and guitar playing. yeah, I'd highly recommend it.
Tom was sending me little clips, and I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was there.
Yep. You name it, they can do it.
November 16th at the Hollywood Casino at Penn National.
Okay, I'll have to check.
I don't know if it's the best place to see us because it's like not the rockiest room, like the coolest. And then we'll be back at the Wind Creek for New Year's Eve.
Okay.
For that as well. But I'm sure you'll have somewhere cooler to go than that.
I don't know. I've seen what Tom posts.
But yeah, we do really well over there.
That place is popping.
Yeah, like Tom loves the band, Tom Taylor, and he, we gravitate off each other, and he sends me a lot of stuff. They're like, dude, you guys should try this song, and I'll take it and I'll put it in a medley. And I knew he loved the Cars, so we threw a Cars medley together. It was actually just for him, and at the time, it was the Benjamin Orr that at the time of his passing, so we kind of did it as a tribute for that. And now it's remained a staple in the set. Like everybody loves it.
I just totally got schooled on Gary Newman. Like Tom, totally like what an amazing man.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. I will definitely try to get up there. Hopefully I can stop up there for New Year's because that would be really fun. And I always end up like not going out on New Year's. I go out every other day.
Listen, I would stay at home. I'd be in bed by 10:30 on New Year's. Trust me.
We were rock stars.
But it was the old mafia gave me an offer I couldn't refuse thing. I'm like, all right, I'll have to get out of bed for that one.
I'll do I'm from Philadelphia, so we do like the Mummers Row. They do
Yep.
Insane. And then you can feel the floor bumping like when you turn to
Were you ever at a place called Vinyl?
Vinyl Altar?
No, it's just called Vinyl. It's like sorry, doggies.
Yeah.
It's like a really cool martini bar.
No,
look it up. It's called Vinyl, and they have live bands there, but the place is spectacular. It's such a cool little venue you would never expect. But we had played there a couple times, and the vibe in that place is so badass.
I gotta check it out.
Like when you first get there, you're like, I don't know. And then all these cool people are sitting there, and a girl, like all the ladies are dressed to the nines, like, like everybody looks like somebody, like
that's
just
awesome.
Really high-end, classy martini bar, and that loves rock music, and they're all singing.
Oh my God, Jesse, let's just
really cool place. We're hoping to get back there soon. If they do, Allie, I'll text you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I have to immediately start Googling.
Yeah.
Go put on my nicest house. Me and Allie are going to be in there. You'll see.
Oh, I have a whole list of things that I need to look up after we get off here. Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome.
And we'll keep in touch.
All right.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Wow, that was awesome.
They
so
have
fun. I love hearing all the stories.
The perspective they have, like this dual perspective of being a fan of this band and then being a member of it is just like fascinating to me because you have more than one perspective of like this band. And I just think it is like, I don't know, it's such like, it gives it such like a well-rounded like story.
I can't even wait because if they're that excited.
No, I'm making me so excited.
Kevin's been there through all the phases. Like for him to be that excited about this new music, like I can't even wait.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely like get American Mosh Pit in there, starting a mosh pit.
I know. Amazing. Also, I'm just so happy to be on here twice this week with you. I love doing this podcast. I love all our listeners. I love Dennis. And I'm just like, I'm so lucky to be in a position in my life where I get to talk about music with an amazing band like Fuel, with an amazing podcast host,
I
and
feel like I keep like pinching myself. I'm like, is this real? Like,
I know,
did we
like,
really,
what
like
experience.
have like I just all the guests that have been on recently
know.
are just. I feel like I'm becoming one of those people that's like, oh my god, they're my favorite.
I
Like,
don't know.
my mom's
when-
like, you love all the songs.
When you asked me, are you in? You sent me a message. You sent me a message and you said, I want you to do this with me. I think you are the perfect person. Are you in? I said, I am in. And the journey that we have been on with bands, that we have had bands come on that when we start are starting to come back on. And we're seeing the growth that they've had. I think we're also showing them the growth that we've had too, not
I've
just
learned so much.
I've
Like,
learned so
I
much
mean,
from doing this too. And I think that our listeners, I just want to thank a lot of them because they have been here from so many of you guys. I'm speaking directly to you guys, have been here since day one and are here now. And I know you can see the transformative growth of the bands on here. We didn't even have a background when we started. And now look at us. So I just want to thank all of you, our listeners, and for tuning in every week to
and I
watch.
second that. We love you guys.
Absolutely.
Well, until next week.
We'll see you guys.
See ya.
Bye.